Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 13, and this video is for Mark and Lindsey. At the end of this video, you will see links to my other videos for the other couples. Be sure to check them out. But this is for Mark and Lindsey. Well, bravo to the experts for this episode with Mark and Lindsey. They showed up for Mark and Lindsey a big time, and I'm happy to see it. They finally start talking about the root of Lindsey's anger, and the same thing with Mark. And like I've been saying all season long, these two are two peas in the pod. What you figured out, they trigger each other. And like I said, it was always a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, they came up with that Lindsey's anger is deep rooted in her sadness. I called it fear, you know, all of her fear of being rejected. But you know what? If they want to call it sadness, call it sadness. Sadness, fear, whatever. But that's the real problem. And the anger is a complete mask. And the same thing with Mark. You figured out that when Lindsey gets angry, it triggers him because of that mean mama and the way that mama used to talk to his daddy. And he said, I ain't going to be my daddy and let no woman talk to me this way. Finally, we're getting to the source of the problem. I wish the experts would have done this with Olajuwon, but instead, they still talking about the behavior of Olajuwon as opposed to going on the deep dive with Olajuwon and figuring out where his trauma is from. That's the real help Olajuwon needed, but I talked about that in the Olajuwon video. But we're going to continue to talk about Mark and Lindsey on this one. Also, the problem with Mark and Lindsey is they ain't got a Katina. And let me tell you, Katina has the emotional intelligence to try and handle Olajuwon and help him through his trauma. But listen, because Mark and Lindsey both trigger each other, Mark doesn't have the capacity to help out Lindsey because he's dealing with his own triggers. And that in there is the problem. When you get two people in a relationship where they're deficient in the same area, that's the problem, because then there's no one in the relationship to carry the load until the other person gets up to speed. It's the same problem that Michael and Jasmina had. They were deficient in the same area, which is vulnerability. And because there was no one to carry the load until one of the other person could catch up. Steve and Noy, the reason why they're still lasting is because Noy is immature as I don't know what, but Steve has the maturity to help carry the load until Noy can grow up. But here with Mark and Lindsey, who gonna carry the load when they both triggered and traumatized? Mark is really trying to do the best he can, and I gotta commend him. He's doing a great job given the tools he has and given the load that he's also carrying on his own back. And the other problem is Lindsey doesn't want to acknowledge her problems, which is another problem. If she at least got into the space of where Jasmine is getting into, at least if she got into the space where Olajuwon is getting to, and that is at least acknowledging that some of the stuff you do is foul and out of order, then maybe we could get on to some progress. But Lindsey is still stuck in the mode of blaming Mark. She still feels as if she doesn't need to change anything until Mark does something differently. And that's why these two are never going to get out of their cycle until Lindsey also starts to acknowledge that she is a shit starter. She wants Mark to be consistent and caring for her and loving her, but she doesn't understand that it's hard for him to be consistent in that area when she completely uses his bad language, puts him down, calls him names, and talks about him. People want to talk about Olajuwon's belittling. Let me tell you, Lindsey's belittling is right up there. Maybe she ain't got all the tats and maybe she ain't a big buff man, but let me tell you, her words are threatening, belittling, and abusive. She talks about first Mark makes her feel cared for, then he pulls it all back. Because you know what? When he's caring for you, then you shit on him, Lindsey, but then you still want him to keep caring for you. It doesn't work like that. Mark doesn't have to do all the work. Lindsey has got to do some work as well. I'm hoping that the experts uncovering to her that this is really sadness. Hopefully this will open a door for her. Just like Dr. Pepper told her, lean into your sadness. You know what? But Lindsey doesn't want to face that dark hole. She doesn't want to open up that closet, but she needs to. She really needs some deep therapy because she wants to keep blaming her anger outburst on other people. And it is clearly not the fault of other people because she does this to everyone. She has gotten in arguments with her brother, her sister, her mother, her father, Mark, Katina, Alyssa, everyone. When is she going to realize that other people are not the problem? She's the problem. What a moment it was when Pastor Cal helped Mark get to the root of his problem and letting him realize that his trigger, the reason he's triggered by Lindsey so much, it is because of Lindsey reminds him of his mother. And let me tell you something, this is going to be hard to live with for the rest of his life. I think these two people, their triggers are really too close to home. And I don't think either one of them has the equipment or the superiority in this element of their life to be able to sustain a marriage. I don't like the advice that Pastor Cal gave. If Mark supported Lindsey more, then she wouldn't get so angry. No, because what that's doing is that's putting all the work on Mark. So it means that Mark now becomes responsible for all of Lindsey's outbursts. So the minute he doesn't do what Lindsey needs, she gets justification to have an outburst. Absolutely not. You cannot coddle what Lindsey is going through. Lindsey's got to fix her mess. He was telling Mark, give her what she wants. Give her what she wants. If she gets the security, then she won't feel that way. No, because when people are triggered like Lindsey, they feel insecure even in moments when they shouldn't feel insecure. You'll never be able to make her feel 100% secure. So what she has to do is she has to learn how to react differently even when she's feeling insecure. You cannot put it all on Mark to always not make her feel insecure. He can't be responsible for all her emotions. That is too much of a load for him to have to carry. And he shouldn't be required to consistently stay in there and take the punches. Just like we're not telling Katina to stay in there and take the punches from Olajuwon, that he's got to get better. No, that is not the answer, that to sit up there and take punches from people. These people, the Olajuwons, the Lindsey, they have got to get better. Dr. Pepper was trying to help Lindsey to point out how she's being negative, how her choice of words, how she responds, how it's a bad response. And Lindsey just doesn't get it. She does not understand the effects of her words. And not only does she not understand it, she doesn't want to understand it. When they were at that volleyball and Lindsey was putting out a bid, as Dr. Pepper said, trying to get Mark to lean into her, and Mark was gun shy and he was on the other side, and he was on the other side of the chair as far away as she could. And that's what it looks like when you've been bit too many times and he doesn't have the capacity to recover from it. You see, Mark is not Katina. Katina has a cup that overflows with capacity in this area. So even when Olajuwon doesn't deserve it, she still has enough in her cup to give him some mercy so that he is allowed to grow and come out of where he is. The problem with Mark is Mark doesn't have enough in his cup to carry Lindsey. This is a deficit problem that he has just as much as Lindsey has. Lindsey says she only raises her voice when she doesn't feel valued. But here's the problem, Lindsey. You feel not valued 1,000 times a day. So if you keep saying, I get to raise my voice when I feel invalued, that gives you free reign. Because no matter what a person does, you can say, well, you made me feel invalued, so I get to raise my voice. No, you've got to recognize the fact that your trauma is what's making you feel invalued, not another person. Every time Mark keeps coming back to saying what they need to do equally, we both need to do this, Lindsey never acknowledges, Lindsey never accepts the challenge. She still wants Mark to do all the work and Mark to go first. And there lies the problem with this couple. I don't think that they're a healthy relationship. People think Olajuwon and Katina are an unhealthy relationship. This relationship between Mark and Lindsey is more toxic. You can hear the plea in Mark's voice that he is overwhelmed and he is feeling crushed by the weight of Lindsey. This train wreck needs to be over quick and fast because these two are not a good match. And I really don't see any possibility really for them to get better, especially without any deep therapy. And I'm not for sure either one of them are prepared to do that.